This video is going to be perfect for the younger investor who either wants to start their first long-term portfolio or just needs some guidance and help with some of the math to figure out how to get to where they want to go. Or it'll be perfect for the stock market investor that might already have been building a long-term portfolio for a while, but maybe is ready to start fresh and build a brand new portfolio with a much more stable foundation along with a strategy that is just about as close to perfect as possible. But either way, in this video, we're going to go through step by step on how any investor with just $25,000 invested can build a long-term portfolio with just one single ETF and retire with over $1 million. Now, if this interests you at all, make sure to stick around, drop a like down below, and subscribe for more future content like this. So the strategy that we're going to be going through and what we're going to be breaking down in this video is how an investor could invest just around $25,000 into the Schwab US Dividend Equity ETF, known as ticker symbol SCHD. I'm sure a lot of you watching this video actually have shares of SCHD in your portfolio, or if not, have definitely heard of the ETF in the past. Now, the Schwab US Dividend Equity ETF has a very simple objective. It's to track as closely as possible before fees and expenses the total return of the Dow Jones US Dividend 100 Index. And this entire index is made up of around 100 different holdings that all pay dividends, are sustainable companies, and raise dividends consistently. Now, the reason on why I think that the SCHD ETF is one of the perfect ETFs for a long-term dividend growth investor to buy into is because it offers all of the following things. This ETF has grown in price over time very consistently. Over the last 10 years, it's basically doubled more or less. But on top of that, this ETF offers a nice starting healthy dividend yield of around 3.5% to 4% as of right now, and maybe most importantly has had massive dividend growth historically. Now, dividend growth rate is one of my favorite metrics when evaluating an investment because it shows you how much the stock or ETF has paid as far as dividends historically. And looking at something like the SCHD ETF, over the last 10 years, the dividends have been getting bigger and bigger substantially. Now, this is so important because if and when you choose to retire and you have, let's say, a boatload of shares of SCHD, you will then hopefully be able to be at a point to where you can live off the dividends and not only live off them, but hopefully if history was to repeat itself, you're going to get paid more and more as time goes on, which is going to hopefully even better impact your life. But to look a little bit deeper into some of the top holdings for the SCHD ETF, in case you might not know, some of the top holdings are companies like Amgen, like AbbVie, Chevron, Merck, PepsiCo, Broadcom, Verizon, Coca-Cola, Texas Instruments, and Cisco. Now, what's cool about SCHD is if we were to look through all the different holdings within this portfolio, it's a very diversified basket of holdings. And although, in my opinion, not every single one of these stocks within this ETF are necessarily my favorite, the fact that there's around 100 different stocks within this basket of holdings gives an investor a nice amount of diversification so that if and when a few of the names perform horribly, hopefully the rest of the names will pick up the slack. But now to get to the good part, you clicked on this video because you want to see the actual math breakdown. You want to understand how an actual investment of just $25,000 invested into something like the SCHD ETF could allow basically any everyday investor to retire as a millionaire. Now, relatively speaking, a $25,000 investment with a small contribution of around $3,600 per year on top of that is a small amount of money invested, relatively speaking. And again, you can start with less than this, you can start with more of this. This is just the math that we're going off of for this specific video, and we'll move the numbers around to even show you how things would look. But if we were to start with $25,000 invested into SCHD, SCHD currently yields around a 3.7% dividend yield and has around 8% more or less, sometimes more, sometimes less, dividend amount increase on a yearly basis. Now, of course, just a disclaimer, these are all just estimated numbers. Things can change in the future, and they likely will. These numbers could be way undershot or way overshot, but this just gives us an idea of what we're working with. Now, the expected annual share price appreciation, let's just go with 3%, and years invested is 30. So keep in mind, if you're younger, the power of compounding is definitely going to be on your side, because as you're going to see here in a second, the longer you can stay invested, the better. As far as the other inputs on the dividend calculator, we are going to have distribution frequency as quarterly, because that's how often SCHD does pay out dividends. We're going to have dividend reinvestment turned on, so this is in theory if all the dividends were reinvested back into more shares of SCHD until the 30 years, until retirement. And then we are going to have an annual contribution of $3,600, which is $300 per month, more or less. And again, I'm going to show you multiple different annual contributions, but relatively speaking, I'm speaking for everyone out there. This is easily an amount of money that if you work hard for, say, 1, 3, 5 years, you can definitely get this amount of money invested in the stock market, at least for most people in most circumstances. So here we go, guys. The numbers are in the first year of principal, $25,000 invested into the SCHD ETF. You are going to receive around $937 in annual dividends per year. Your yield is going to be, of course, 3.7%. Yield on cost is 3.75, and then of course you are going to get the annual contribution. So that brings you into year number 2 at $30,147, and you will get this number by of course reinvesting the dividends of $937, and also of course the annual contribution. So year number 2, you're already up around $5,100. Now by year number 5, this portfolio just doing its thing is already at $47,900 and $2,100 per year in dividends. Now just skipping forward a little bit, by year number 10, $89,000 of principal already and over $5,100 per year in dividends. Now I would say pretty much after year number 10, the power of compounding is really going to start to kick in, and because the numbers are going to get bigger and bigger and the yield on cost is starting to get bigger and bigger as well, you are going to see the power of compounding take shape, and these numbers are going to accelerate at a faster rate. So by year number 15, halfway through the 30-year cycle, your $154,000 principal is now earning you around $11,400 and some change per year in dividends. By year number 20, $270,000 and $25,000 per year in dividends. By year number 25, almost $500,000 of principal and $60,000 per year in dividends. Again, this is all off of a $25,000 investment into the SCHD ETF and $3,600 contributed annually on top of that. And as far as the annual contribution goes, we are going to go through multiple different scenarios in a second here. So after it's all said and done, year number 30, the new balance after 30 years would be $1.159 million invested into SCHD with around $150,000 per year in dividends. Now, I don't know about you, but that sounds pretty good to me. Of course, we don't know the cost of things in the future, but regardless, this looks like a pretty good path to wealth for a relatively small amount of money to start off, if you ask me. Now you might be wondering, well, what happens if I don't really want to contribute any more money per year to this portfolio? What if you want to just buy $25,000 worth of SCHD, and maybe, for example, you want to just contribute $100 more? Well, because of the long time horizon, you're going to see what happens here. By year number 1, you're still at $25,000 and nothing really changes. But by year number 5, you're only at $37,000 and only $1,700 per year in dividends. By year number 10, you're at $60,000 and $3,500 per year in dividends. And all the way at the bottom, you would end up with $676,000 and around $90,000 per year in dividends. Now, by no means is that bad, honestly, especially if this is just one of your large investments. I think that if you're inherently an investor, you're probably going to invest into more things than just $25,000 of SCHD. But this just goes to show how much of an impact even relatively small annual contributions can have over the long term for a portfolio, because the power of compounding loves getting more and more added to it, especially if you have time on your side. Now, just out of curiosity on the other side of things, let's say you started with $25,000 worth of SCHD, but now you move to $12,000 per year in annual contributions, or $1,000 per month throughout the whole year. Now the numbers are going to get way bigger, faster and faster. So much so by year number 5, this portfolio is already worth $85,000 and almost $4,000 per year in dividends. Year number 10, $165,000 and almost $9,200 per year in dividends. Year number 15, $365,000 and $26,000 per year in dividends. $646,000 and $60K per year in dividends. And by year number 30, $2.848 million with $377,000 per year in dividends. So what's cool about investing is that you really have different choices. But regardless, a few things remain certain. The power of compounding loves time, and it loves getting more money at it over those long periods of time. But either way, if you stay invested long enough, even if you're not able to contribute that much per year, you're still going to see the power of compounding take place, and you're still going to have a nice golden egg towards the end of your working life and towards retirement. So now that you saw exactly how just a $25,000 starting investment into SCHD ETF would actually turn pretty much the average investor into a millionaire, I want to hear from you guys down below. Do you currently have any SCHD in your portfolio? And if so, how many shares do you currently hold? If you enjoyed this video, make sure to please drop a like on it and subscribe for more future content like this. Thanks as always for stopping by, and if you are interested in investing, make sure to check out these recent videos I posted right here.